Hello, Vermonters. I'd like to talk to you about what would happen if the KKK came to Vermont and staged a rally. Now, why would I ask such a provocative question? Let me issue a disclaimer. I don't want the KKK to come to Vermont, and I hope that there's a day where there won't be any KKK in the world to come to Vermont. But I asked a question to pose a hypothetical. Let's say that there were a KKK member in Vermont. I've never met one yet, but if there were, and they called for a rally at the Vermont State House, and let's say the KKK members came from all over the country on one day. Now, would it be fair of our media to say that because 60,000 KKK members came to Vermont on that day, that they take that numerator of people and divide it by the denominator of our population of about 600,000 and say that 10% of Vermonters are KKK members or racists? I think we would say that was a statistical lie. But that's exactly what they've been doing with the fentanyl and heroin dealers that come up here from down south and sell drugs that are killing our family members. Now, I say this as a former criminal defense attorney. I'm not a racist. I have a long history here of not being a racist and of working for people to protect their rights. But I'm also an opioid recovery coach, and I think it's important to save lives by being honest about the conversation. But our Vermont media have refused to be honest about the conversation. I've been asking them for years. If you have a heroin and a fentanyl epidemic, and you have people flooding here from down south from a demographic that is more black than here, an inner city demographic, and you then use their apprehension and conviction of crimes they violated the laws as your numerator and divide it over Vermont's demographic and underlying black population and say that we have astronomically spiked our incarceration of blacks and that our police are racist, then are you deliberately manipulating the statistics, or are you just not looking deeper? If you look in the Justice Reinvestment 2 study by this state last year, you'll find in the footnotes that, in fact, a remarkably large proportion of those people of color inmates are from out of state. We don't actually ask how many of them moved here recently either, do we? Because we wouldn't want to jeopardize that systemic racism label you're putting on the least racist state in the country. We were at the forefront of the abolitionist movement, and this is the best place in the country to live if you're black and want to not have racial conflict. But many or others are creating it. And meanwhile, are they opening the door to the fentanyl heroin pipeline? So what if the KKK came to Vermont? Would we tolerate that kind of an abuse of the population, an abuse of statistics, and a refusal to ever even look at what the true numbers were? Because I'm not really up for tolerating this anymore. I hope you'll join me in demanding answers. I don't want to label people wrongly, but I think our police are being labeled wrongly, and that would be a crime. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned. We're going to have more to talk about.